So first slide here. What this discussion is today, I'm not going to be discussing how to sign up students. This is not a class on if they say I can't afford price, do this. If they say that they live too far away, do that. It's not about overcoming objections. It's not going to be about what is the best price structure. Should I go for a trial lesson first and then another trial lesson and then sign them up on a 1 year or 2 month? It's not a how to sell class. Okay, my goal in this class is to provide you with information you can implement immediately, regardless of how much you charge, of how long your agreements are, if you do month to month, if you do 10 class punch passes, or if you do a 1 year annual agreement or 2 years or 3 years. Regardless of how you're signing people up right now, this class, this mini course is designed to help you increase that. So without further ado, let's get involved. The key takeaways from this discussion is number one, understanding the overall picture of all the activities involved in making sales happen. So we're going to take a look at the big picture and then break it down. Number two will be what you need to provide your staff in order to succeed at every stage of the process. Takeaway number three will be what to manage and when to manage it. So getting down to the nitty-gritty as to what are the key metrics we want to pay attention to and how often we want to pay attention to them. Number four, it's unfortunate, but it's reality. This is martial arts we're dealing with here. We have to decide when someone is just not able to do the job, and maybe they would be better qualified to do something else for your business. And last but certainly not least is tools you need to make this all work. So here's the overall picture, okay? And I just want to make sure everybody can see my screen there before I continue. Are you looking at a big arrow with some different colored boxes in it? If you are, just type yes for me really quickly. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Okay, so there's several different sales models out there, okay? But all of them tend to gravitate to this as the core. The stages I've seen in every single enrollment process is you need to book the appointment, regardless if it's a referral or someone walking in from the very first moment and they want to book on the spot, if it's a web lead, if it's an incoming phone call, if it's someone you meet at a special event off-site, you get their information and follow up and book. That's always the first step. Now, one of the most overlooked steps is number two, making the appointment actually happen. We all know that people tend to make commitments and fail to keep them. This is a very popular thing, especially in North America. So there's a lot of things to be discussed within that. The third step in there is conducting the appointment or appointments. I don't care if you do 1 or 2 or 3 or 2 weeks of unlimited training for your introductory or your lead up to the sale, but that is a key component of converting students, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And then also, not everyone signs up, as you know, during your first run. Sometimes they'll come down, they'll check you out, and it's just not the right time, or they weren't presented with the right information or the right energy or the right person. And unfortunately, we do need to follow up and find out if there's a way to bring them back again after that. So that's if the sale's not made. One thing I'm going to request from you is please don't focus on the naming of the first visit to this school. Some people call them appointments, some people call them trial lessons, some people call them orientations or intros. It doesn't matter. We're talking about the same thing. Also, this class today will be specific to selling the very first membership. I'm not talking about upgrading your current students or renewing your current students, although a lot of the discussion points today will help you with that and enhance that. The key focus is getting new students, and I'm pretty sure that everybody here would like to have more students, and that's why I'm going to focus in on that so deeply. Okay, so let's talk about the main challenges in the big picture sense of each step of your sales process. First up, with booking your appointments, the main challenges I've seen in most schools is we're not making enough outbound efforts, and what I mean by that is phone calls, emails, social media networking, as well as being out in the community in the flesh, meeting people, greeting people, basically providing them with some content that'll make them interested to learn more about your school. So we're going to break into that. Also, sometimes you do have a situation where you're doing these efforts. However, the quality within the efforts is not very high. What I mean is, picture a class when you start the class and you bow them in, you say the creed if you do that, and then you ask them to warm up. Some people don't warm up with intensity. They don't warm up with passion, and you can see it. They're just going through the motions. Well, that tends to be very similar to how most sales staff go through their outbound efforts. They only want to deal with the hot leads, the people that come to you. But when it comes to going outbound and trying to generate interest and build a pipeline, it tends to be something where, again, they're just going through the motions. So we're going to discuss that. Then when it comes to making the appointments happen, the main challenges I've seen is lack of urgency within the confirmation. What I'm meaning is, yes, in reality, the student or the prospective student that booked the appointment, they can come down anytime they want throughout the year. It's up to us to make it important and urgent for them to come down for the time that we originally booked them. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is some schools don't actually have a set confirmation process to be followed. So the staff are doing the best they can based on common sense, but you know and I know common sense means very different things based on the individual we're speaking of. So we want to talk about having a confirmation process in place. Then when it comes to conducting the appointment, this is essentially the sales presentation. The main challenges are if a salesperson does not love what they're offering, if they're not actually training, if they don't actually live and breathe the lessons that they're trying to sell, it's going to be very difficult to be a convincing salesperson. I don't like the idea of the old school salesperson, the used car salesperson that it's constantly trying to sell with things like price and features, and they're not really actually the person that would drive the car they're selling. That won't work in 2011, okay? Today's consumer is too knowledgeable and it's too easy for them to cross-reference what your school is really about with other people that have gone there before or currently going there for us to do some kind of quick pitch that's going to get people to sign up. So what do we replace that with? We replace it with love, passion, excitement, and energy. Those are the things that are going to be convincing when you're showing someone your lessons. So that's the main challenge. Next up is not being specific to the person you're introducing your lessons to, not finding out what makes them tick. You and I both know that someone who comes down to lose weight, or someone who's just interested in martial arts as a hobby, or someone who's looking to compete, or someone who's an athlete in another sport and they heard that martial arts is a great cross-training exercise to build a better core or foundation. All of these people have different goals and objectives in signing up at your school. The question is, are you asking the right questions to find that out early enough? Are you tracking what they had said as their responses? And are you augmenting your presentation or your introduction of your lessons to them based on what their needs are? If you're not, it's going to be difficult to sell because every person is different. So we're going to break into that as well. Then lastly, following up if the sale is not made. It's really simple. If there's not quality perseverance, meaning a consistent and persistent follow-up measure in place with everyone who takes the time out of their day to come down and check you out, it's going to be difficult to convince people you're committed to their success. We have to show the same level of commitment to our students before we sign them up as we do after. Okay, so here's a trick question. Do you see anything in common with the challenges I just mentioned at each stage? All right, I'll let you type in a little answer there, but this is a trick question. If you see anything in common with it, give it a shot. Don't be shy. Type in the chat box for me. Okay, actually speaking to each customer. Okay, I like that. So what Advanced Sports has noted is that all the challenges at each stage of it require a connection with the person, which comes through verbal communication or in person versus relying only on digital communication such as emails and websites. Love it. Anna, listening to the customer, absolutely. Absolutely. Our job is not to show up and throw up. Nobody wants to hear about how great you are. They want to understand that you know what their needs are and that you can meet those needs. Anna, that's fantastic. Thank you for that. Okay, I'm going to move on. It's a trick question. Here's the thing that all those challenges have in common. They require you to solve them, okay? You being the manager, the program director, or the owner of the business are the only person who is actually going to be able to solve these problems. You cannot delegate this to your staff, and you certainly cannot hide from these challenges, because if you're not seeing the enrollment levels that you would like for your studio on a monthly basis, chances are, if we drill into the challenges we just discussed, we'll be able to find some things we can refine and enhance in order to improve it. So fact, all solutions needed will require your participation in some capacity. All right, so hopefully I've got you engaged now. Let's move on. So what am I saying? Nothing will improve until you start providing the following. A, motivation. Okay. B, guidance and direction. C, the tools and the content that they'll need. And here's the kicker. All these things need to be provided to your staff in combination. Okay? If they're not motivated, we can't even get the engine started to start working on it. If they are motivated, but they've got the wrong direction, we're going to be headed in the wrong direction. And from there, you're not going to see any results. If anything, you're just going to deflate their motivation. They're going to feel like their efforts aren't amounting to anything, and you are going to feel like they're ineffective for your school. It's going to damage your relationship with your staff, and it's going to damage the overall results. So we must provide guidance and direction regularly. And then last but certainly not least, let's not ask our staff to go mow a huge lawn with a pair of scissors. We have to provide them with the tools as well as the content they need to be successful. We'll talk a little bit more what I mean about content as we go through the presentation, but these are the key fundamentals. Okay, so takeaway number 2. What do you need to provide your staff in order to succeed at every stage of the process? So what are the things specifically that our bookers need and our confirmation team need, as well as the people who actually make sales? So these are the 2 groups we're going to discuss today. On the left-hand side, they're not selling memberships yet, but they're doing the booking and confirmation. On the right-hand side, they're doing it all. They're booking, they're confirming, and they're selling. And in the event that you only have one person in place, or that one person in place is you, that's all good. It just means that you're going to have to take on everything that we're going to discuss today. It is your obligation. Okay, so before I break into the first group, being the appointment bookers and confirmation team, we need to discuss 3 things that both groups need from you. First up, performance-based pay structures. All right, if you're paying them an hourly rate or a monthly salary that has no variance based on the performance of the school, you are not suggesting to them what they need to do to reach the goals of your business. And that's what next Thursday's webinar will be about, is performance-based pay structures. Essentially what I'm saying is when money talks, people tend to listen. Staff will listen to their pay structure when they're not ready to take a direction. So this is extremely important. Next up, you need to be that leader, in quotes, that person, that motivator, that role model that people want to follow. There's a great quote, it's anonymous. If you think you are leading and no one is following, you're just going for a walk. You really are. You need your staff to be behind you and aligned with your goals and aligned with your direction. So you don't need to type this in the chat box, but I do want you to consider at some point today, what are the 3 reasons your staff would follow you? Are you that person that they are currently following, or are you simply just the ATM machine that's providing them with money? It's important to be the first one. And last but certainly not least, how is the product that you're asking your staff to sell? Are the students that you have in the community perceived as quality martial artists? All right, are they the kind of people that swear loudly? Do they smoke? Are they respectful of elders? Do they win when they compete at tournaments? Are they quality martial artists as athletes, and are they quality martial artists as characters? It's really hard for anyone to be committed to trying to sell a poor quality product. All right, if you took a car salesman out of Mercedes-Benz dealership and asked them to sell a much lower quality car, they would struggle because they're used to having the quality of the product to back them up. So you got to ask yourself, is the lessons that you're teaching producing the best quality student? And if they're not, don't listen to any more of this presentation. Focus on the quality of your lessons first. Make sure your students are representing your school with the highest possible integrity. And from there, it'll be much easier for you to increase your enrollments. Okay, moving on. So now we're going to talk about group 1, booking appointments and making the appointments happen. Again, if you're the only person doing it or you have one person, this is the first half of the equation. So we've got some ground to cover here. Here are the things we've got to talk about that they need. They need to know who they should be contacting on a regular basis. They will need call scripts. They will need email templates. They will need the opportunity to shadow someone who knows how to do it so they can pick up the right types of approaches. Also, print collateral, basically the printed materials that will help them out in the community. They need a daily report, so that way they can measure on a daily basis, are they headed in the right direction or not, and you can review this and coach them. They need a physical sales board. I also call this the in-your-face board. We'll talk more about that. They also need, what are your minimum expectations? Okay, we can't do something where every single day they achieve, like when you do push-ups, if someone does 40 push-ups in class, okay, 10 more, 10 more, 10 more, and it's that moving target. That's not fair. But at the same time, giving them no minimum expectations as to what you consider average, poor, or high quality performance is also not fair. They need to know what they're shooting for. So goal setting plays a role. And then last but certainly not least, they need a pay structure that will also embody and shadow and reflect all the things that we're talking about. So let's get into the first thing that we need to provide them with, and this is who to contact. And I got a little warning at the top here. There's going to be some text-heavy slides. If you're interested in receiving a recording of this webinar or the actual slides I used to make it, just let me know at the end by emailing me. I'll type in my email address right now at the bottom, and then I'll make sure I get that to you. Okay, so let's get into the call lists. First things first, inbound web leads. On your website, there should be forms everywhere that people can fill out if they're interested to learn more. If they're interested to read an article that you've written, maybe you've got a report on 10 ways martial arts can improve the life of anyone. Or perhaps you just have a trial offer on your website. But regardless of how you are positioning an offer of information or an offer of a special, you need to have a form on your website that people can fill out, and their information is transmitted to either an email management system or, better yet, a contact management system. That would be the first place your appointment bookers should be focusing on, because those are hot leads. It's like someone calling into you, but instead they've just decided to do it over the internet. Next up is referral submissions. Okay, I can't get into the strategies today, but at all times you do want to have some kind of reward system in place for students to refer other students. In addition to that, you should not be shy to ask for referrals. There is a tactful and classy way to do it, and typically it can be done very well in the first 120 days of any student signing up. Times I recommend to request referrals is in the 246 follow-ups, as well as after their very first rank promotion. There's ways to do it where you're talking more about the retention. You know, people who train with a friend or a family member are much more likely to train all the way to the final rank versus people who do it on their own. In addition to that, did you know, if you do refer any students, if you do spread the beautiful art of martial arts to your community and someone comes in on your accord, we will give you this amount of money towards maybe a pro shop offer, or we'll give you referral reward points. When you hit a certain level, you get 5 free private lessons. Always offer them something that will be tangible and help the retention of your business vis-a-vis private lessons, vis-a-vis some equipment. We do not want to give them a monetary reward. That is going to actually deter the focus into making them think referring is a stream of revenue versus a way to just grow the school. Next up, old leads, okay? What I mean by old leads is leads that you generated through previous birthday parties, summer camps, winter events, special seminars or workshops. Anytime you generate, maybe you went to a fair or a parade and you generated leads as you were walking in the community. Anytime you generate these leads, they're not dead until they tell you to stop calling them. If you haven't called them, this is definitely a place you want to put some of the focus of the booking person on them. I'm not saying to call them every single day, but they definitely need to be part of the focus for follow-ups. And our hottest leads, our best leads ever, former students, okay? Any student that has already made the commitment to train with you and has left is much easier to sign back up than anybody who has not been there at all, okay? So those are the call lists that we want them to focus on. You do need a system that makes it easy for them to have these lists separated so they know who they're calling at all times. Next up, building their own lists, okay? So we can't spoon feed them everything. They do need to generate their own opportunities as well. So for example, doing in-person introductions. It should not be a difficult thing for your sales staff to introduce themselves to someone in public. Now, I'm not talking about just walking up to strangers out of the blue and tapping them on the shoulder and trying to sign them up on martial arts lessons. Please don't mistake me. That's not what I'm saying today. But what I am saying is, in the event that they're in a conversation already, maybe it's at the coffee shop, maybe it's at the school that they go to, maybe it's at the grocery store, wherever it is, they should be able to be comfortable to discuss the opportunity to come check out the school with those people, and they should be doing it regularly. Now, next up, I have a thing called a tablet lease, all right? This is a relatively new concept, but I'll break it down really quickly. It is optional, but I highly recommend you consider it. What you can do is purchase a tablet. I actually just bought one off of Groupon yesterday for $150, a Samsung Galaxy tablet for $150. That's nothing. The iPad ones, you can get them used for between $400 and $500 off Craigslist. But get yourself a tablet. In your next staff meeting with this individual, show them the tablet and ask them if they would like to have it. Ask them if they would like to have this to be able to watch YouTube videos, get on Facebook, send emails, and essentially use the tablet for whatever their personal needs are. The answer is always going to be yes. Then that's when you let them know about the lease plan. All they need to do is provide you with 5 new qualified leads per week, okay? What they can do is load up your website with that contact form right on the tablet And when they're speaking to people, just let them know, hey, if you'd like to learn more about our school, receive our free report on 10 ways martial arts improves the life for anyone, or anything to that effect, or if you'd like to try a lesson, I could just punch your information right here and I'll hit submit, and then you'll be on our email list. And if you don't mind, we might call you to follow up. It's not difficult. We're not asking for people to make any commitment or make a payment. But what we are trying to do is we're trying to give them the opportunity to learn more about our school by simply filling out a form. If your staff can do that 5 times a week, they get to keep the tablet. The first week they don't do it, we revoke the privilege. All right? I guarantee that 20 leads a month for the cost of buying 1 tablet is the best deal in town for generating new web leads. And I've got a question right here from Advanced Sports. What do you think about drawing type leads? Are they too old school or out? Okay, we'll get into that a little bit later. Let me just pull down the rest of your question. Or outdated. There's a way you can actually do a draw to win or an enter to win, but use QR codes, and we'll talk more about that. So I don't want you to go get lead boxes and try and convince people to put them on their counters. It's not going to happen, but you can do what's called a QR code poster, and just remind me to cover that at the end of the class, okay? Thank you so much for the question. Okay, last but not least, for building their own lists, online networks. All right, anyone who is on Facebook has friends on Facebook, and they can go through their friends list. I'm not asking you to ask your staff to become a Facebook stalker or a Google Plus stalker that's, you know, making people uncomfortable. But through first or second or third generation friends lists, it's not a really big deal to write up a friendly little paragraph and copy and paste it into a message sending in the social networks and just see if anyone might be interested. Provide with a link back to your Facebook page or your Google Plus page, and they can go and see if there's anything they're interested on your page. They can see the recent conversation about your school, as well as they can visit your website. Let those tools do the selling for you, and let the online form get filled out a little bit more. How do we do it? By reaching out to people. So they should be reaching out on online networks, either using their own personal profile, using the instructor's profile, or using the business profile of the school. Okay, so those are the main key elements of who they should be contacting and what you need to coach them on. Next up, scripts. Okay, anytime people hear the word script, they generally mistake that as reading a, if they say this, you say that, if they say this, you say that. That is absolutely not what I'm talking about here. That worked in the 1980s. Any sales consultant or person who tries to tell you you should have your staff reading from a script either hasn't done sales well ever, or they haven't done sales in the last 10 years. They don't work. Okay, so please don't mistake me on that. Here's what I mean by a script. The formula is as follows. First of all, they need to be trained on example greetings specific to each type of contact. Back up a little bit earlier, I believe it was Anna that said, you know, actually speaking to the customer. Or sorry, no, that was Advanced Sports. But as we're speaking to the customer, we must start by speaking relative to who they are. Vis-a-vis if they're a web lead, we need to reach out and find out, okay, did they fill out our adults program form? Did they fill out our cardio form? Did they fill out our kids form? Did they fill out our interested in competing form? You know, let's speak specific to their objectives if they filled out a form on your website. Now that is an extremely different greeting to the way we would greet someone who is referred to us. As you know, a referred lead is much warmer and it can be much more intimate. We should be greeting them by mentioning the name of the student who referred them, and it's a little bit of a warmer approach. Then, if you're greeting a former student, of course that's going to be different. We'll be speaking more about things as, you know, did you know how much has changed at the studio since the last time you've been down here? Yeah, we got this new programs, new class schedule. We actually bought some new equipment. You know, that is a much different greeting. So without getting into too much detail, you need to coach them on 2 or 3 example greetings for each specific type of contact, and then let them mix it up and pick the one that resonates best with them. It should come out naturally. Next up, this is a huge point, and we have a lot of webinars on this specific point. But just to summarize, you cannot ask your staff to make phone calls or send emails or reach out to people with empty hands. It's rude and it's disrespectful. No one wants to be called and bothered, okay? Which is why we want to call with some content always in hand, something of value to provide these people. So here's some example content. You can put together a mini course on black belt parenting, a mini course on the best ways to improve the focus of your child, a mini course on the best ways to improve the flexibility of your lower back, the best ways to improve your blood circulation, you know, ways to include exercise in your life and manage stress and manage your time. And here's the best part about all this content. You don't have to write it. You can Google this stuff. You can find YouTube videos on this stuff. Anything that you feel would help you, why wouldn't you share it with someone that might be your student in the future? As long as you make reference to the people that did produce it, and it's not someone from your competitor down the block, as long as those are the key traits within this content, you can use content from anywhere online and make that the reason why you're contacting people. It's such a different phone call if I'm calling to say, hey, thank you so much for visiting our website. By any chance, do you have any interest in, for example, insert the topic? They say yes. Then you go, great. If you could check your email, I sent you a little article on that, or I sent you a video you can watch on that. And that is the concept of calling without empty hands. From there, the conversation will much more naturally transition into a discussion about the lessons you offer. Why? Because you're calling with value. You're calling with an interest in their success. And that will radiate across the phone a lot better than calling them and telling them about how you're the greatest school in the community and you've got the biggest facility and you got high-tech mats. No one cares about you. They don't. They only care about themselves. So be intelligent and reflect that in the way you approach them. Okay. A lot more information on that later, okay? Next up, quick instructions to get the content. The worst thing that can happen is a person calls, they talk all about this great report or this great article or this great video, but then they don't know how to get it to the person quickly. All right? Whoever is making these phone calls or making these follow-ups needs to be able to provide clear and easy instructions on how to get it. Example, check your inbox. Example, go to our website.com/great material. Provide them with a way to get this content to people easily. Next up, this is an important one that everybody tends to forget. Anytime you talk to your staff, anytime in the middle of training, over lunch, splashing water in their face 5 a.m. in the morning and waking them up, they should be able to list off the key notable things about your school right away. It's got to be second nature for them to mention just the key bullet points. Why? Because sometimes people will ask questions that will invite you to talk about yourself. And when they inquire about yourself or about your studio, you need to be able to list the most compelling reasons why you're different than others, okay? We've helped this many families since this year. Or our instructors are certified in this curriculum and you can't find that anywhere within a 20-mile radius. Or, for example, we have 4 competitors that recently placed in the top 3 in this competition. These things need to be talked about regularly and they must come out very naturally. Each one of your staff members needs to be able to say them as if they've said it 1,000 times. It has to come out naturally and with a tone of humility that it's like it's as a matter of fact rather than a bragging session, okay? Also, one thing you want to consider is teaching them how to answer the questions that people don't ask. All right. A lot of the time people will be thinking, is it safe? Will I get injured? Will I have to spar on my first month? So it's important to say things about your school that are notable, such as, instruction is individual to the person. We will be analyzing your body composition when you come in. If you have, stiff muscles, we're not going to ask you to kick above your head in the very first month. If you're not comfortable with sparring, we'll definitely have many other different exercises and things that you can do before you decide if you want to spar or not. So those are the kinds of things that people are thinking, but they might not be comfortable asking. Make sure that the formula of your script includes a couple things like that each staff member should be saying. Then they need a solid breakdown for how to book the appointment and the best practices within booking appointment, because sometimes, as you know, a call can get hot quick. People can just decide emotionally right on the spot on that first phone call, you know what, I'd really like to come down and try a lesson. And if that's the case, we better know that we shouldn't be booking appointments for any more than 3 days from the time of the phone call. If anybody has ever booked an appointment and had the person not show up, please type yes in the chat box right now. I'm going to say that one more time. If you've had an appointment that you've booked, but the person actually didn't show up, just type yes in the chat box. Thank you. It's a rhetorical question. Of course it's happened to you. And it's the most expensive dropped opportunity there is, because it means you had somebody committed, you had a potential enrollment ready to go, but for whatever reason, you weren't able to get them to come down to the school. And generally that breaks down to doing things like on a Friday, booking them for a Monday. No, on Fridays, we don't ever book somebody for a Monday. The weekend will always beat us. We cannot beat up Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. All right, that's where that's where the brain checks out and forgets every commitment it made on Friday. Instead, you let them know, you'll call them Monday with some opportunities to come in Monday afternoon or Tuesday afternoon. And that way you book it and confirm it in the same call. All right, we don't book things for 3 weeks from now. Okay, so that's really important that they are aware of the booking best practices. Tips about your script. I kind of mentioned this in the beginning, all right, but some major tips here. This must sound natural coming out of their mouth. I don't care how well you can say it. I care how well they can say it. I don't care how good your round kick is. I care how good the round kick of your students are. Our job as instructors is to transfer knowledge, and that does not change at all when we're teaching them the methods of how we do business. Okay? So if they're unable to just have this flow out of them naturally, it might be worthwhile to have them revise the points that they say in their own words. So it's that way, it's something they can take ownership of. One of the things I've done with all the salespeople I've trained in the last 10 years is I get them to write their own scripts and then I approve it. No one here uses the same script. Nobody here on my team is a robot, so why would I treat them like one? Then, one thing I have to say is the best script is no script at all. Just a list of bullet points, things you want to cover, things you want to say, questions you want to ask, but in a bullet point manner. That way, it's like a list of guidelines as to what the conversation should be about rather than someone reading. All right? If you've ever had some telemarketer call you and say, hi, is Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so there? And then they go into how they're conducting a survey or they have a really amazing opportunity for you, you can tell they're reading and you mentally check out and disconnect from that immediately. Why? Because it's not a conversation. It's someone reading a monogram to you and then you're sitting there going, okay, I'll wait for the pause and I'll tell them I'm not interested. Let's not get our staff to do the same thing. Okay, a little bit less on scripts next time around. Sorry I went for so much detail today. Okay, email templates. This is huge. Email templates are essentially our backup plan to phone calls. As you know, very rarely do people pick up their phone these days. So we're always going to shoot for phone calls, but if it doesn't happen, rather than stress out that we can't reach people, we've got a plan B, which is a really great email template series. Now, here are the things I want you to consider when you're putting together your email templates. First off, make sure the tone, the flavor, the swagger, the culture of your school is in your email templates. I've talked to some guys on the phone and they got an East Coast accent. They're really charming. They're super energetic. But then they send me the email templates for me to review and it looks like someone with a British accent has written them with 4-syllable words and things that you can just tell they would never write. You don't want a disconnection between the tone of your emails and the tone of how you speak. They have to match up. It will create a better familiarity and you'll attract the kinds of people that you want training at your school. Not every single person should train at your school on this planet. Only the people that are drawn to the way that you will teach and the way that you'll take care of them. So let's start creating that relationship with the tone of your emails. Next up, you cannot have 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 emails are going to go out, on the first day, the third day after, then day number 10, day number 17. All these sequential email templates can't go to they can't be the same ones going to different people. They've got to be specific to the interests of the people you're emailing and how they heard of you. For example, someone who has been referred to you to join your competition team because they trained at another school should be receiving very different emails to someone who's never been to your school before and filled out a form on your website because they heard they could burn 1,000 calories an hour with your cardio class. What am I saying? I am saying that you will need to create the same email template 3 or 4 different times with just an introductory paragraph specific to the group that you're sending it to. And then you need an email system we'll talk about a little bit later that is intelligent enough to separate who is who and send them the right things automatically so you don't have to worry about doing that. Next up, if your email templates are ugly, meaning they've got a whack font that nobody wants to read and no logo, not one single picture in them, not even one video link, how can you expect your staff to be excited to send them? If they know your emails suck, they're going to send them like they suck, which will be barely ever. But if they look good and they're the kind of email template that when they send it, they know the next time they call that person, they're going to be a little bit more warmed up because this is a nice looking template that clearly represents your business as well as the paint on your wall. That's the kind of email template that's going to motivate them to get it out. So make sure your email templates are something your staff are proud to send. Next up, it's got to be easy to send them. All right, if it's a real pain in the butt to go into an old sent items folder, try and find the right template, it's named something different every time, and then they got to go and edit it every single time, guess what? You're not going to get it out the door as much as you want to. Make it easy to send these things. What am I saying? Have a strong email software program. Okay, what are the kinds of templates we need? I'll just go through some examples, and if you're interested in getting a recording of an email template course that we've taught, you can definitely go ahead and email me and I'll send you a recording of our email template class. Lauren, yes, there will be a recording of this, and we will do this webinar twice a month. I'm going to run this Managing Your Sales Efforts course a couple more times, but if you can stick around, please do. All right, so here are the kind of template types. First off, the initial thank you to your new prospects. This could be by web, by phone, or in person. We don't want to say, it was so great to speak to you on the phone today to someone who just walked into our studio. We don't want to do that. Have 3 different versions of your initial thank you to brand new prospects based on how they contacted you. Next up, we need what are called nurturing templates. This is between the time that you book the appointment, between the time that you first speak with them or you first get their information and the time you actually book the appointment. We want to nurture them. What's the kind of information that would be in nurturing templates? Stories of real life students that have had their life transformed because they trained at your school. You know, if you can do it as a video, there's a saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, a video is worth 1,000 pictures. Videos are always better, and you can shoot them with an iPhone or a flip cam. It's not easy. Sorry, it's not hard to do, and make it easy on yourself. They don't need to be professional videos. Just a regular video. We don't need any fancy logo on the bottom of it or nothing like that. Just something that's real and authentic. Other examples of nurturing templates. Tips for your first visit down to the lesson. Oh my goodness, people forget this all the time. They forget that not everyone knows where the best place to park is, what it is that you need to know before you come into the school. If you bow at your door, make sure you explain to the people that haven't come down to your school why people that are walking in front of them are bowing. They need to understand what it means to pay respect to the facility, pay respect to instructors. They don't have to participate on the first visit, but they're going to learn it anyway, so why not get them pre-framed before they come down so it's not weird to them? If people wear a belt in your school, have a YouTube video on how to tie a belt. Okay, so all we're trying to say here in nurturing templates is things that will remove the unfamiliar and mystical things about martial arts that they may not understand yet. Let's be educators from day one, so that way they associate us as someone who can help them rather than someone's trying to sell them something. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Next up is the confirmation email template. Anytime you confirm an appointment, within 5 minutes, I want a confirmation template in their inbox. What would be in it? Well, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but essentially you can guess the time of the appointment, best instructions to come down, a little bit of information about the instructor that they're going to be meeting up with, and so forth. Okay, thank you so much, Advanced Sports. Next up, missed appointment follow-ups. If someone misses an appointment, we want to have a few follow-ups in place that'll go out to them. Just things that are saying, hey, no problem, we understand life gets busy, but here's some times that you can come down, here's the way to call us, all that stuff. Then if they do come down to the appointment, we want to thank you for coming in today. That email needs to go out right after the appointment. It's so important. Also, if they don't sign up during that appointment, we want some things that'll go out to them that'll let them know a little bit more about our school and help, warm up that lead so that maybe the next time we speak to them, we can talk about signing them up rather than trying to see if we need to book them down again. If we do need to book them down again, that's all good, but you need some information that's going to warm them up to want to do that. All right, again, we have classes on this email templates concept alone. If you're interested in seeing a recording one, just let me know by email and I'll get it out to you. Next up, the timeline. The timeline in which you follow up with these people. We've got a separate class on email marketing timelines, but here's the call timeline. The call timeline needs to be specific to the amount of leads you generate and the number of hours per week that you staff your sales staff, okay? If you staff your sales staff only 3 hours a day, we can't expect them to be making 50 calls a day because they have other duties to do, and making a follow-up actually takes a little bit longer than just a couple minutes, all right? An example of a full-time salesperson and how their follow-up should be on a new lead: once in the first 24 hours, second call within 48 hours from then 72 hours, and 7 days, 7 days, 7 days, 7 days. All right, that's 8 follow-ups. If we don't get them on the phone at all, 8 tries, that's when we walk away and we start sending the monthly newsletter to them. Beyond that, we will follow up from time to time, but the intensive follow-ups are always 24, 48, 72, 72, 7, 7, 7, 7. All right, next up, print collateral, okay? Print collateral is often overlooked. Give your sales staff business cards. If you don't take them seriously, they won't take themselves seriously. Confidence is everything. Having them being proud of the school will always help. So having a sick looking business card that's got a nice print weight to it, decent looking logo, choose a good color. If black makes sense, go with black. If a color makes sense, go with the color, or just plain white, all right? And if you know about QR codes, put a QR code on it with in italics underneath. You can trust the scan. That way the QR code can point them to your mobile website and they can fill out a form to shorten the sales cycle. If you don't know about QR codes and you want to learn more, send me an email to john@championsway.com. I've got a couple videos to send you. All right. Now, if you're not there with a new hire, and what I mean by not there is you're not ready to spend money on giving them business cards because it's just you're not sure about them yet, not a problem. Get some generic flyer style business cards that don't have anyone's name on them and just get them to hand those out. All right. But if they don't have anything to hand out, there'll be no real reason for them mentally to start making conversation out in public. And we need to have something in their pocket that reminds them to do that. Confirming appointments. Okay. Here's one thing they need, the confirmation email. We kind of talked about this. Eliminate fears and surprises, provide convenience, reinforce quality. You are making the decision to come see the best school in the area, and this is why. Present a face. It's really cool if you have, a little bio video about the instructor that they're going to be coming down to meet. It'll make the job of that instructor a little bit easier because they're going to be, kind of a rock star in a sense. They've already been presented as someone who has these credentials and has been training this long, and maybe, have them doing a kick or a punch or some type of grappling technique depending on your style, and build up a little bit of that kind of familiarity before they meet them. Those are kinds of things we want in the confirmation email. Confirmation calls, okay? We always want to make sure that we're providing one further trick up the sleeve of the person making the confirmation phone call. Here's what I mean. I'll give you one example and then we got to move on. One example would be, I call the person, oh, hi there, Mr. So-and-so. So I just want to make sure you're still good for the 5:30 appointment to come down and see us today at ABC Martial Arts. Oh man, you know what? I'm not sure if I can make it. Is it possible if we can schedule the same time next week? And then I would say back to them something to the effect of, oh, you know what, that's okay. It's not a problem if you want to come next week, but I actually would prefer you come today. We've got a lot booked up next week, and I just think that this is something that hopefully we can get done today. I actually had a t-shirt waiting for you. I assumed you were a size medium or large, so I put one of each aside, and we were really hoping to have you come down today. The appointment's only going to be roughly a half an hour, and the reason why I'm giving you a light push back here, Mr. So-and-so, is because I have a feeling if I call you next Wednesday to confirm the Thursday appointment, something else might come up. There's always something that comes up. So maybe we can just get it done today. And then that way, you can make a decision if you want to be a martial artist with us next week instead of having to come down for your first appointment. Something to that effect. The key thing in that whole conversation, which maybe wasn't the greatest example, is the t-shirt. All right. Maybe you have MMA gloves, something of low value that is a tangible physical good that they can pick up at the school if they come down for the appointment. We don't have to offer this to everybody, but we should offer it to the people sitting on the fence. Give them some urgency. Show them a little extra love. Have something in your pocket in the event that they're trying to get out of that appointment. All right? I'm not telling you to make them pushy, but just have something. Then provide your staff with some light motivation coaching. I am not talking about motivating your staff. I'm talking about teaching your staff how to motivate others, okay? So when somebody is interested in your ADO program or they're interested in your cardio program, hey, are you sure you don't want to come down and get a good workout in tonight? It'd be good to come down and get a little sweat in. You'll feel good about yourself, get those endorphins firing. This is the idea of light motivation. We don't want pushy used car salesmen saying, well, I don't know if we're going to have any times available at all next week. This would pretty much be the only time you can do it, or something effective. Are you a quitter? Because, that's not the kind of mentality that you'll be successful with. If you're already quitting on your first appointment, this is going to be hard. Like, none of that crap, guys. But light motivation is needed. Sometimes people need a gentle and respectful push. So teach your staff how to give that. Minimum expectations. I'm going to fly through this quickly. All right. Just make sure that the expectations you have for your staff to make outbound follow-ups is respective of the time that you're giving them to dedicate to it. And remember, one educated follow-up where you spend a couple minutes to review the person on Facebook or review any notes you have about them from previous conversations is worth 5 blind follow-ups. No one likes to be called by someone who knows nothing about them. So allow your staff the time to make educated follow-ups where they can say something specific to the person in the first 30 seconds on the phone. All right. Also remind them that they need to make activities with all different types of contacts. It's not about calling just the web leads. There's also the referral submissions from previous days, also the old leads from events that you've done, and as said before, former students. When you're auditing their efforts, please focus on how many people show up to the appointment. I don't care if they book 1,000 people if nobody shows up. All right? The booking is just another way to measure their effort. but the number of people that show up is where we measure results. So don't mistake the two, please. What are you going to have them perform in their daily report? What are the things they're going to report to you on? And this is a daily report. They write it in an email and they send to you. These are the things I would advise you to measure. How many activities? And what I mean by activities is a count of how many phone calls, how many conversations, how many emails, all right? How many people have they influenced today? Or how many people have they attempted to influence today? Okay, next up, how many appointments did they book? Next up, how many appointments did they confirm that were previously booked? How many people showed up? And how many people missed an appointment? That's it. They should send that to you each and every day. All right, performance pay, we'll talk about that next Thursday. And now we're ready to talk about group 2. Group 2 is the people who conduct the appointments and also follow up on the appointments when they're not sold. So the first thing I need you to provide them with is shadowing, the process of doing the appointment. Okay, they have to be able to see you do it at least 10 times. They want to see, how you do the introductory lesson, how you do the commitment discussions where you provide to them the agreement that they can take a look at to sign up. All this, you have to let the staff see how you do it 10 times. Again, I'm saying if you can't show them how you want it done, how do you expect them to figure out how to do it themselves? All right, so provide them with the framework as to how you want these things done. And the best way is, I hate to say this, but monkey see, monkey do. Let your staff witness how you want it done. After every single appointment, debrief. Explain to them why you approached the person the way you did, why you did push at the end, why you didn't push at the end. All those things need to be discussed with them. Transfer your knowledge, be an instructor. All right? Then make sure they get to shadow you on the process of completing a payment agreement form. Nothing is more expensive than having a person sign up but have the contract or the agreement filled out incorrectly, and then you got to call them to do it again and they decide not to on the second time because they weren't fully committed. Make sure your staff know how to fill out the payment agreement form perfectly. That way you don't ever run into those situations. Guidelines for offering deals and discounts, okay? We live in North America, and unfortunately, our consumers that are now used to social living as well as Groupon, from time to time will expect a deal, expect a discount if they ask for it. So what you need to do is provide your staff with some guidelines on what they can offer. All right. So if somebody is trying to shy away from the appointment confirmation, that's the time where you let them know I can give away a t-shirt or a pair of gloves or whatever it is. Oh, we're going to put aside a $30 voucher for you to spend on anything in our pro shop. Things like that. Discounts. Can they provide a discount for certain types of agreements? All right. What about delayed payments? Sometimes people will say, you know what? I'd really like to start, but I'm not able to make a payment until this day, so I'll just come back then. Well, maybe we want to eliminate that particular objection and just say, hey, why don't I delay your payment until 3 days after that? Give them a window of time they're allowed to delay a payment up to. I recommend between 2 to 3 weeks maximum. Don't let them delay payments a month. You might end up working for free. Pro shop items. Are they allowed to give away pro shop items for new members signing up and based on each type of membership type? If someone's signing up for your premium membership, you should be able to throw a little something at them to encourage them to do that in the event that you need to negotiate. All right. If they're signing up for a basic membership, maybe we can throw the uniform in. All right. This is nothing new. You know these things, but it is new to your staff. So provide them with guidelines. And then one other cool feature is cash rewards. That's something that's specific to the software that ChampionsWay offers, but it's like having a Starbucks card where you can load up a certain amount of credits on someone's account that they can spend on things in the future. Maybe you don't want to give them anything off the top. Maybe you want to give them the perceived value of $100 of cash reward points that they can use in the future on private lessons, seminars, workshops, or pro shop equipment. Okay, you do need to train your staff with sales training. But keep in mind, I have a different meaning on what sales training is than the popular perception. Here's what I mean by sales training. First off, they have to be knowledgeable about what they are selling. What I mean by that is they have to train. If they don't know what it's like to do martial arts, how do you expect them to sell it? Okay, so make sure they've got really, really good product knowledge by having them train a minimum of 2 times a week. Next up, they have to be trained on how to connect with people of all walks of life. Some younger staff are not comfortable speaking to adults. That needs to be eliminated. Give them the homework task of starting 3 conversations with adults they don't know a day until they become comfortable with it. Will they actually do it? Maybe, maybe not. But the point is you get their mind working in the direction of being more comfortable talking to people they don't know that are older than them. All right? It's not a hard thing to do if you practice it. All right. There's also people who are wealthy and people who aren't wealthy. And you can tell sometimes from the way that they present themselves. We should be comfortable to talk to everybody, all walks of life. So make sure they're practicing that. And if you have to, do a little role playing. Next up, excitement about the school. Always make sure you're providing your staff with some really easy to prove reasons why your school is an exciting place to work, why it's an exciting place to train at. If they're not excited about your school, it will definitely show when they talk to people. Okay? And motivation coaching, again, we're talking about not teaching them to be motivated, but teaching them how to motivate others. If you have to get them to watch some Anthony Robbins videos or listen to some tapes, go for it, but I recommend you just teach them how you do it. You're a motivator. You get people to do things their bodies are not normally doing. You get people to commit to things they normally wouldn't commit to. So teach them how you do that. Let them learn your swagger and your style, and then let them develop their own style. And last, but definitely not least, is boundaries. Provide them with boundaries. What are the kinds of things you will never say to someone? For example, what do you mean you need to talk to your wife about making this decision? Don't you wear the pants in the relationship? If any of your staff members ever say that, they're just going to piss people off. That is not cool. So give them some boundaries on what they should and should not say as far as when they're coming down to pushing someone. Give them some boundaries on what is harassment and what is a decent amount of follow-ups. If they're calling the same person 3 times a day just because that person said they were going to sign up, come on, read between the lines. They're not signing up if you're calling them 3 times a day for a week straight and they don't pick up one of your calls. All right, try something different. Send an email with a video, an article, a report, or a mini online course that will warm them up and show them that you are a quality selection. All right, personal presentation. I hate to say it, but this is often overlooked. Attire. If they wear shirts, the shirts need to be clean. If they wear a gi, it needs to be pressed. Make sure they are presenting themselves in the best possible way. Hygiene. If someone eats a lunch that results in bad breath, it's going to distract the heck out of anyone who has to talk to them. So keep a toothbrush and toothpaste at the school, or mints or gum, but they better not be sucking on a mint or chewing on gum during a conversation with someone. Make sure that's a rule. If you have male staff, make sure they shave. If you have female staff, make sure their hair is tied back. We want to present a professional and clean and sophisticated look to everyone who walks through the doors, because they are going to judge us by our cover. Next, voice projection. If you notice, I am projecting my voice as clearly as I possibly can as I speak to you over the internet. The reason why is because I know if I speak clearly and loudly and with conviction, you will believe that I am talking about things I believe in. And I do believe in these things. I live and breathe them every day. Your staff has to have the same type of voice projection. All right? When someone projects their voice with confidence, it is a clear indicator that they're telling the truth and they know what they're talking about. If they're not doing that, maybe they're just shy. But the person on the other end will perceive it as they're either being false or they don't really believe what they're saying. And then it's often overlooked, but body language. Are we making eye contact? Are we shaking hands firmly? All right. Are we standing up straight or hunching over? Are we leaning up against walls? Are we waddling back and forth when we're talking to people? Or are we centered and focused? It's just like stances. It's just like learning martial arts. Body language is important. Okay. And if the sale's not made the first time the person comes down, they need follow-up scripts, they need follow-up email templates, they need more content to prevent the empty hand scenario, and you should be hosting seminars and special events regularly at your school to give your staff an alternate reason to invite people back down. Sometimes people just don't want to come back down for another private lesson. They just don't want to do that, okay? But maybe they would come down to a special workshop or a group event, and maybe that would give them the experience they need to feel more comfortable about joining your school. Make sure you're doing stuff regularly, so that way you provide your staff with other things to invite people to. Daily report for group number 2 is everything from group number 1 that we talked about earlier, but we want to also add the following components: the appointments they performed that day, how many sales they made, meaning memberships plus pro shop, and how much money was collected. Can everybody see this right here? This is the in your face board. If you can see this, just quickly type yes in the chat box for me. Fantastic, thank you. So what we're looking at right here is what I call an in your face board. Now picture like a dry erase board where you would put in all of these columns here. Now, you may not have all the same columns I suggest, but these are some that you might want to have in there. So what we're talking about specifically here are follow-up calls, how many intro 1s booked, how many showed, how many intro 2s booked, how many showed. I don't know how many lessons you do before you try to sign someone up, but that would be relative to what you put here. How many people did you sign up? What's the down payments collected? Renewals, renewal down payment collected? What's the total amount of missed payments currently? Total amount of pro shop sales, cancellations, upgrades, your total students, how many students are paying you monthly through a billing system, how many are A, B, C, or NA attendance ratings, and essentially some goals for each one of them. This needs to be up in the face of your staff so that they are reminded regularly as to what it is that you're looking as the objectives of their work, okay? It's really important. Okay, so next up, pardon me, I just went from full screen mode there, is the pay structure. That's next class. Quick breather. So just to let you know, we're almost done today. We'll probably be wrapping up in about 10 minutes. We're well past the halfway mark. And I just want to thank you, everybody, for taking the time out of their day to come and hang out online with us. And I'm hoping that you're going to take something away from this. So here we go. Takeaway number 3, what to manage and when to manage it. All right? I'm speaking in terms of daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly. So daily, what are we doing? We're checking in twice a day. Not once, but twice. Once in the morning, once in the afternoon. If they're only working night shifts, once at the beginning, once near the end. What are we checking in on? The stats. Make sure you ask about the stats every time, the things that they're going to put in their daily report. It's just a reminder that A, they should know their stats, and B, you are looking at the stats. That itself is a self-management tactic. Beyond that, ask about the successes and failures every time you check in with them. Hey, any news, any highlights? And then if they can talk about someone who decided to shy away from coming down to an appointment, or they can talk about someone who they just booked. Either way, celebrate successes and coach and reassure them and coach and push them when there's failures. It's all good to fail as long as you're trying again afterwards and you got the right direction. Make sure you balance the tone between being friendly with them and being firm based on the situation. For example, they've made 40 phone calls and couldn't get anyone on the phone. Be friendly about it. Crack a joke. Hey, it's all good. Maybe they just don't want to talk to you. Have a joke about it. Have a little laugh about it and move on. All right? But if you ask them, how many calls have you done? How many bookings have you done? And, I haven't yet got to making phone calls. Well, what are you working on? I was working on insert something you didn't ask them to work about. That's when you want to be firm and say, hey, I appreciate you being proactive, but I need you to focus on the things I ask you to do. I don't need you to work on this right now. Can you get on the calls immediately, please? And I expect you to make 30 in the next hour. Whatever. Mix up the tone between being friendly and being firm. Now, in weekly meetings, so now we're talking about managing them on a weekly basis. This is what we want to check in on. Wins and losses and key stats. So again, an extension of successes and failures, as well as key stats. What's the definition of key stats? Either a stat that's very low or very high and compared to average, or something that you feel is really important. So focus in on that and explain to them why you're concerned about it or why you're happy about it. Make sure at the end of discussing the wins, losses, and stats that you're coaching them, you're empowering them, and you're reinforcing the values. Then set your current expectations. And what I mean by that is if last week was poor for one particular stat, your current expectation is for them to focus on improving that stat next week. If they did very well on a particular stat, the current expectation would be to maintain that performance next week, okay? Then from there, here's the month-end review model. Tally up all of their stats. Have a month-end performance check-in. Give them their pay total based on the commission structure you'll learn about next Thursday, and then set current expectations for the next month. Basically the same thing as a weekly meeting, but we're talking on a monthly level. Then at the end of each year, I want you to do what's called a 360-degree review. What this is you get a kind of like an interview form that it asks about the strengths and weaknesses specifically to that individual. So, what are 3 things you would say that so-and-so does very well at their job? What are 3 things you would like to see them work harder on? What are 3 things you feel that they could use more help with? All right? You put together a little form that's very generic, not too personal, but it asks about what are their strengths and what are their weaknesses in a diplomatic way. You give this form to a student to fill out or a parent of a student who's willing to participate. Let them know that you really care about the feedback of how your staff are performing and you'd love for them to help give you some feedback. Make it anonymous. Do the same thing with another staff member if possible. Have another coworker fill out the same form. Last but not least, they fill out that form and you fill out that form. All 4 corners are covered, hence the 360-degree review. They'll get an opportunity to learn what their clients, with their coworkers, with their manager or boss, and themselves, what they think of themselves. That way we can create some succession planning as to what they will work on next and if they have the opportunity to move into a bigger role at your school in the future. Make sure you communicate that to them. Also make them set goals, all right? They can be financial goals and they can be goals based on where they want to be in your school. But have some form of goal for them to continually reach and attain. It's so important that we define what the finish line is each year. Okay, takeaway number 4. This is a really quick one. knowing when someone simply can't do the job. I'm going to provide you with some flags that I feel you should take a look for. First off, they shadow you 10 times either on booking appointments or they shadow you 10 times on conducting appointments, yet afterwards they still struggle in those steps. What I'm talking about here is no matter how many times you try to teach them how to do something, they still don't pick it up. That is sometimes where we just got to walk away. Not everyone was born to be a salesperson. Not everyone has the character to be excited and passionate. And we just got to recognize that and not be putting energy into something that we won't get any energy back from. Do not embark on endothermic reactions where you put more than you get out. At the same time, recognize where you do see a minor improvement. And if the situation is they just need more shadowing, that's okay. But if there's absolutely zero improvement from 1 to 10 times shadowing you, walk away. Next up, if they don't believe in your product or your school or your services at all, that's the end. Stop it. They can't talk to anyone else ever again in your school. All right. Do I mean they must, believe in every single thing and love every technique you teach and love every decision you make? No. There's always going to be some complaints. There's always going to be that, owner syndrome. Well, if I own the school, this is how we would do it. I would paint the colors and I would make the uniforms this color and I would change that. There's always going to be those opinions. That's fine. All right. But it has to be limited to a few things. It can't be everything. If they have absolutely zero belief in your school or the lessons you teach, pull them off your sales team now. And then lastly, if they ever take actions that put your reputation in serious danger, they also should not be on your sales team. They shouldn't even be on your staff. Here's some examples. If you have adult staff sleeping with students, I know not a lot of consultants will talk about this, but I will. It's happened in schools that I've seen, and it's absolutely destroyed the reputation of the instructors. So that is a definite no-no. If that's happened, it's a one-time warning, a second-time termination. All right? Other things, being rude to a customer, being disrespectful, being racist, being ageist, being rude to someone who's a little bit older, a grandfather coming down to sign up his grandson, and if you're not patient with them, that would be a red flag to me. Okay, so take a look at the kinds of things that could damage your reputation that you work so hard to build up and make sure that those are clear boundaries for your sales staff so that if they break any of them, they won't wonder why you're firing them. All right. Final takeaway, the tools you need to make all of this happen. Okay. Now, obviously, I work for ChampionsWay and I'm going to recommend you get our software. Why? Because it has all of these features built into one system. But in the event that you don't feel comfortable working with us, here are the things you need outside of the ChampionsWay software if you weren't going to use it. You need a separate email system. You need a system that provides sales automation. What I mean is a contact manager that you can log notes about your students or prospective students. It knows what stage people are in the sales process and who's working with them. You need a planner system, and a planner system is not a hard copy day planner that's sitting on your desk right now. If I spilled orange juice on that, your planner system is kaput. So make sure you have something that is online that can be accessed from anywhere. Then you need a reporting system, something that makes it very easy to see what was done when and by who. It cannot be something that can be meddled with either. It's got to be a system that when Johnny logs in and writes down that they made a call in the system, it stays that way. They can't go back and edit the date or the time or say someone else did it. So you need a reporting system that matches up with your automation system. Then you need this to be web-based, guys. It can't be something that's stuck on a computer that only can be checked when you're at that computer. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up to always have to drive down to the school when you want to review stats. You should be able to log in from your phone, your tablet, your home computer, and see what is going on without having to talk to anybody. That way, when you do show up at the school to teach the advanced classes or you come in the day, you already know who you want to talk to and what you want to talk to them about. You got to come in with your game face in from the first moment so that way they know at all times the instructor or the owner of the business knows what's going on and is prepared to lead the troops towards the goal. All right? If you're always asking people, oh, how are we doing on this? They're going to tell you stories, and stories are expensive. So make sure you've got a good software system that can do all of these things. If you haven't already spoken to any of my sales staff, please call us. I'm going to put the phone number here in the discussion notes at 1-877-774-5425. Oh, and I have my number lock on, so that didn't work. Okay, so while I'm writing in the phone number, it's time for questions. Please don't hesitate to type any questions you have in the chat box, and I'll cover them now while I'm typing in the phone number. Oh, Anna, thank you very much. So, again, if you ever need to contact me, you can reach me on Facebook at facebook.com/JIAL number 1 number 4. You can also email me at john@championsway.com. You can look me up on Google Plus. First name is John, last name is Malik. I'll just type in the spelling of my last name as well. That's in the discussion notes there at the bottom left. And again, if you have any questions, please don't be shy. But if you don't feel comfortable asking a question here today, please don't hesitate to send one by email. I understand if you don't want to broadcast your question over the internet, so don't be shy to send me an email. Be more than happy to help you out. I'm going to hold on for another minute here just to see if anyone has a question come to mind. And other than that, I really hope that you took something away from today's mini course. It is our goal here at ChampionsWay to support every martial arts studio, regardless if they're our client or not. And hopefully you took something away from this. Thank you, Anna. Appreciate it. Okay, well, it looks like I either did a really good job or a really bad job because there's no questions right now. So hopefully it was a really good job and hopefully you enjoyed the course. This is John Malik on behalf of ChampionsWay. I'll be signing off and please don't hesitate to give us a call if you have any questions. It's great to have you online. Have a wonderful day.